Hey guys, we're talking a lot about sanctions in this news cycle. So I wanted to take a little moment to talk about what sanctions are, why they matter, and why they can also be controversial, because we don't talk about sanctions very often unless we're talking about foreign policy. So sanctions are penalties, in short, usually a financial penalty that one country is putting on another country or potentially a company or a person in order to try to coerce a change in behavior, incentivize, convince, or coerce a change in behavior. So sanctions can be proactive or they can be reactive, and they really center around whether or not the person that is doing the sanctioning has leverage. So I often think there's a lot of crossover between foreign policy and parenting because when you're thinking about foreign policy, there's always a country or a person that believes they have authority and someone else that believes they don't. This is really about relationships. So let's talk a little bit about this. So sanctions are proactive or reactive. So a parenting example, let's say your son is getting in trouble at school. And so you want to penalize him in order to elicit a change in behavior. So as you're hearing about this behavior, you start sanctioning him. You're taking away things like his allowance or his iPad or his television. And you may have different degrees of success depending on what you target, just like sanctions. What you target may or may not be that trigger that changes behavior. A lot of parents are probably thinking about the varying degrees of success you might have with this. Now, sanctions can also be proactive. So you could actually sanction your child at the beginning of the school year and then slowly give back things as you see the behavior that you would like to see. That's another way that you can use sanctions. But let's get to the leverage part, because leverage is key in all of this. Let's say your son is now 18 years old. He has his own job. He's living at home because he's a senior in high school, but he's no longer getting in trouble in school. The issue you're having is that he's drinking with his friends. This is really bad. So you want to sanction him. You want to penalize him. You want to change in behavior, and you start doing that. But you've lost some of this leverage, right? You've lost the leverage that you have over your child because he actually has his own money. And guess what? He also has his own friends. And those friends have parents. And those parents are actually the ones giving the kids alcohol. And you don't have any control over them. So he has a workaround now. Similarly, countries can have a workaround. And that's really the question confronting America and Europe about whether or not we have the leverage to inflict the punishment necessary on Russia, or the penalties necessary that would coerce a change in behavior, or whether or not Russia has figured out other ways to survive no matter these sanctions. So sanctions can be a really powerful tool in foreign policy. They also can be limited. And that's why there's always a debate about how effective they may or may not be. What do you think about this?